welcome to Elevate Your Connection. I am Mandy.
And I'm Tawnya.
I don't know why I feel the need to sing that every time,
but
I guess I do. Today we are doing Conversations with Spirit. So this is kind of a regular segment. Again, we're doing energy updates at the beginning of the month. Towards the middle of the month, we will do more of a conversation with Spirit. And then at the end, we get to have the pleasure of hearing Tawnya channel Spirit. So anyway, moving on. Today we are talking about what, Tawnya?
We didn't really put a title on it, but we're kind of piggybacking with what we talked about in the energy updates, where we talked about our heart expanding and following our hearts. So do you want to, I think you could take the lead here and start talking about.
Yeah, so one trend that we have been seeing, and also again it was brought up once we were unpacking the energy update, was relationships and our relationship within the relationships, the relationship with the relationship, the other person, when it's time to let them go, when has it evolved out of that phase. Because again, we're entering into year of 9. That's changes, that's letting go of things that we have been tied to. We're entering into the new age where Pluto is entering Aquarius, and that is more heart-centered, more innovative, different kind of change. So we're entering a whole new energy with things. That greatly affects every aspect of our life, including our loved ones, our friendships, our relationships, and all of those things. So we were kind of just down this rabbit hole of what that looks like in this new era and how we can help people with their relationships. And what it boils down to is becoming more heart-centered and tuning into that heart and knowing what our heart is telling us and versus fear.
There's been so many changes, and over the past few years that is relevant. Everybody can see that, where we no longer align to the jobs, to the relationships, the friends that we used to have, the things that we had. But then there's some of us who don't like change, who tends to hold on, right, for dear life. And that is where it's like, how do you know when enough is enough? That you're not in the same vibe or frequency, not even in the same direction. And we talked about that just a second ago on how do we realize, okay, we are not on the same wavelength. Like, I think differently, I've evolved, I've changed. And how do I know that that's okay? There is a tendency, not with everybody, but try to save or change the person that they are with. And we've all been there.
Yep.
Right? We've all been in that relationship that we're like, you know what, it's great, but I'm going to change this and this and this. I hear that, I'm going to change the way he dresses. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Our younger self, talking about our early 20-year-old self.
Or teens.
Teens, right?
Yeah.
We go in these early relationships because we're learning, and we start, I'm trying to say, manhandle the relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're forcing it.
Yes. Forcing it is a very good word. And social media with this younger generation has not made them think clearly. I have a 17-year-old. He doesn't watch my videos, so I can talk about him. It's fine, okay? His perspective on life is just viewed through TikTok.
Yeah, there's a major disconnection. And what I tell, one of my sons in particular, who is loves to sit there and scroll, I'm like, we did not come here. You did not sign up as a soul to come into this earth school, into this existence, to spend your whole time, your whole free time, scrolling on your phone. What a waste. And as a result, you get very disconnected from your true self, from your soul self, from your heart. And then you wake up one day and you don't know who the fuck you are.
Yep. And then you
don't
have
know
a
why you're
spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And you get hit with a spiritual 2x4. So when you're in these kind of relationships, you might have your awakening and your partner doesn't, or your best friend doesn't, and you guys don't see eye to eye. How do you, and I asked this, I said, Spirit, how do you trust your heart and know you're making the right decision?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do we do? Because you either locked in fear, which our mind tends to put us there because they want to keep us safe. That's a defense, mechanism we were born with. So Spirit, I said, tools to trust your heart, knowing that I have to let go of this relationship, friendship, relationship, whatever it is, business relationship, anything.
Relationship with your phone.
Yeah, anything. You have to accept what you can't change, because there is that, what I just talked about, expecting that you are going to change them. You are going to heal them. You are going to be the knight in shining armor. You are going to be the savior. You have to accept that that's not your responsibility. Acceptance is the first tool. You have to accept what is. The second part is you have to put yourself first. And that has been for so many years frowned upon. We're kind of coming out of that on putting ourselves first, because it's like, that's so rude. You need to think about others. You need to think about your children first. You need to think about, which I still do, guilty, but like putting yourself first. And then Spirit said this, which I thought was really crazy. They said, see what the world is missing and give it to yourself.
The world is missing.
And I know why. And I was like, what?
Interesting.
Okay, so talking about energy. I've said this on many videos, and I have too many out there, and I don't know which one it was. But when you give it to yourself, it's the ripple effect. So when you give it to yourself, it ripples out. Sorry, like the sun is like changing and starting to blind us. So once you give it to yourself, the energy begins to shift outward. It's the same, you put, throw the stone in the pond and the ripple effect. So whatever the world is missing, give it to yourself. And then the world gets to experience it. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that. That really makes my throat like do some funny stuff.
Ooh, talk about the funny thing. I'm like, please talk about the funny thing.
Yeah, there's I need to sit with that a little bit, because for some reason there's like that activates something in the self-expression.
That's where
which is okay.
Yeah, keep going. You're on it.
But yeah, there's some sort of way that whatever that she described must activate your ability to self-express. And that the throat chakra is where all of the chakras meet, and it's where you're outwardly projecting what you are inwardly.
And I heard as you were talking about that is people have a hard time expressing themselves because they're afraid of judgment. And we all want to be accepted and loved. I'm not going to go into a lot of that because it was a channel that I got, and I will do that future, because there's going to be a book that I'm talking to Spirit about with that. But being able to express yourself and accept what you cannot change.
Yep. And when it's the difference between when it is your responsibility and when it's not, that's huge. We talked briefly leading up to this about the wounded healer. People who are the problem solvers by nature, they are the ones that even as a little kid, people went to divulge a lot of their problems. They were the rock of their family even, or the rock of their friend group, even their own healer, if they've had to be their own healer. Starting at a young age, those tendencies, oftentimes you'll find that other people, you're just this magnet for people that need help or want help. And you want to help, like you have a giving heart and all of those things, but you don't always have the boundaries that you need. And that can bleed, that's just like siphoning off your life force energy. And we've been there.
And that's the path of a spiritual healer. So you can call yourself whatever, but if that resonated with you, what Mandy just said, you are on the path of a light worker, of a spiritual healer. And it is challenging to have those boundaries of putting yourself first. But I will tell you,
and not making somebody else's problem your problem.
Right. I've been doing this for quite a while now, almost hitting a decade, that I had problems with this in the very beginning. I overgave, I overshared, I did a lot of that in the beginning because I kind of felt like that's what I had to do. And you have to be able to fill up your own cup and know when it's too much.
Yeah. Knowing your worth. Knowing your worth can go, I mean, we can talk about that in a whole other video, but this really kind of goes back into that as well, of knowing how big your heart is, how much work that you've put into yourself, how much your energy is worth. That also goes with what you're willing to put up with from a partner, a friendship, whatever.
And if they're draining you, that's the huge sign.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good point to know, like the signs of depletion and when that energy exchange isn't there, and this isn't a partnership that is meant to continue on the way it is currently. The one thing, I used to have a boss that said to me, he said, don't let them put the monkey on their back on you. Put it back on them. And I love that saying, even just the visualization of it. People love to do that. God love them. But they want so badly to take their burden and put it on to somebody else, and to put it onto a listening ear, a strong figure, somebody that's very grounded. They want to just share or give that burden to somebody else. Know when that's not something you should be doing. Put that monkey back on their back. All right, so that was our Conversations with Spirit. We'd love to hear your comments if you have any, and if you have any questions, please put them down below and we'll do our best to incorporate them in future videos. Be looking for our next one when we get to hear the channeling, which is so special.
Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon.